Before we begin, I would just like to thank everyone who made sure I could keep this channel after it was falsely flagged down on accusations of being spam. You guys are awesome, and that's one of the main reasons why I keep making videos like this. I also want to say the next 4 commentaries I want to do, plus maybe a couple of one-shots here and there, I'm not entirely sure yet, are on incredibly long videos. And I wanted to do one more short video before I started cracking into those potential monsters of videos. Insert somebody I've already commentated on. The first person I commentated on, in fact, CarmenRider. Specifically, her recent video, Modern Smosh's cringy and hypocritical video about Asian people. I should note, despite Carmen saying this is Modern Smosh, the video she is commentating on came out in 2017. Half a decade ago. Oh, and for those curious, Carmen has somehow managed to make her combined intros even longer. This time taking 40 seconds to get into the video. I swear, at this rate, by the end of 2022, her intros will be movie length.
Hello again. CarmenRider here.
And Virgo here back with another commentary.
Okay, I think I should explain what's going on for those who are a little confused. Carmen, for some reason, sometimes likes to do co-ops with other OCs of hers. Now, this is not an issue by itself. Hell, I've seen it done in good commentaries before. Doodle's old commentary on Joshua, for example. But those usually involve characters bouncing off each other and actually having, you know, chemistry.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is Joshua Colbyhouse, aka Joshua8428, a commentator from 2010 who was a huge bandwagon due to his lack of showing the video he was commentating on, his arguments, his lispy voice, lack of paying attention, and had a knack for bringing religion into all of his commentaries.
So, filthy American?
I guess?
Does that matter? After all, you still parroted his point.
What wonderful insight, Gon. Have a cookie. Brought to you by Barry's Bakery.
Because he has a screenshot, so therefore he's more right than you.
Look, are you gonna contribute anything?
Well, Gon has a bit more of a point than you may realize. Josh will not once point out when MacBoy Redux shows his hatred for the mysterious Mr. Enter, yet MacBoy will point out how Comet Jack was still being a Mr. Enter fantard at the description of his video. Thus, MacBoy is showing more proof, whereas Colbyhouse is not. And you missed the point.
Is it a circle?
What? No.
Well, what if the parent doesn't fail and the kid grows up never watching Ed, Edd n Eddy?
They wouldn't be missing much. You Americans need to watch some real anime.
That's not the point. The point is that you can use that kind of hypothetical for any and every situation. It doesn't really make MacBoy's statement wrong, it just brings up a hypothetical for the sake of selling a narrative.
And that's my job. You too can get a narrative for only $14.95 plus tax and shipping and handling. Available at boonslayer.spreadshirt.com.
Here, it doesn't feel like Carmen and Virgo are 2 separate characters. It feels like it's Carmen and someone else who's basically Carmen in everything but voice. Compare this to Doodle. Say what you want about her, you could tell the difference between Doodle, Hand, and Ga, aka Cancer the Weeaboo, in all of the clips I showed you. Doodle has even acknowledged in the past that, yeah, she specifically makes sure that these characters are easy to tell apart, because otherwise, what's the point of having multiple characters?
At least when I use Hand, I differ from myself, and no, not just via voice changer. The character of Hand is a sales merchant who normally speaks like he comes from an infomercial. There is a difference between my characters and I, and people who watch my videos with Hand in them will understand that.
You couldn't do this with Carmen's characters. Tell me, if I switched everything that came out of Carmen's mouth in this video and made it so actually Virgo said it, would you be able to tell the difference? I highly doubt it. For that matter, Carmen and Virgo barely ever interact, let alone actually bounce off of each other in any meaningful way. I don't feel like I'm watching 2 people do a commentary, or 1 person and 1 robot do a commentary, I guess. I feel like I'm watching 1 person on 2 different alt accounts doing a commentary.
So remember that video from way back called How to Not Piss Off Women? And I mentioned a video called How to Not Piss Off Asian People?
Not that I'm aware of.
You're not aware of if you remember the video or not? Yeah, another thing regarding having multiple characters, you actually have to make sure they can have conversations that sound You know, real?
Anyways, during that time I was actively looking for an Asian person to join me on said comm, just to make sure people don't play identity politics. And that's where Virgo comes in.
Guys, I'm not racist. My demon sex robot girlfriend is Asian. Duh!
Anyways, let's get into it.
Hi, I'm Mari Takahashi. I am Olivia Sway. We are not the same person.
Yeah, I'm aware. I have eyes.
Do robots actually have eyes? Even if they do, wouldn't it make more sense to say, I have visual sensors, or something along those lines? Again, this is just poorly written.
I know they're referencing the Asians look the same stereotype.
Oh, so your statement was just pointless then. Well, skip then.
But instead of getting mad, we're here to help by giving you guys the simple do's and don'ts for how to not piss off Asian people. First, let's talk about greetings. You might not know how to pronounce your names, so do just ask.
That's not really an Asian exclusive thing, that's more so a minority thing.
When did she imply otherwise? The video is just about the experiences of Asian people. Nowhere did the video imply that these were only things that happen to Asian people and that no other race of people might have similar experiences. You just made that up.
It's weird for everyone when you try and say our names and then butcher them.
So is it Olivia Swai or Sui?
Why would anyone address you by your last name? Wouldn't people just refer to you by your first?
What if she's in some kind of formal business setting where addressing someone by their last name would be appropriate? For that matter, what if the person talking to her is socially below her in some way? Again, therefore making it appropriate for him to refer to her by her last name.
Okay, so Mari, to catch a he.
Close. Takahashi.
These are really bad examples, to be honest. Most of these names are easy to pronounce.
True, but the actual difficulty comes from figuring out how to pronounce the names without hearing the words first, not just with general pronunciation. There's an old trick where somebody asks you what YES spells. You then say yes, and then they ask you how the same word would be pronounced if it began with an E. You then sit there trying to say ES or something else that sounds equally as ridiculous until they inform you that's how eyes is spelled. Eyes is not a hard word to pronounce, but it is a hard word to come up with a pronunciation from in that specific context. I can speak about this personally, as I am somebody who commonly struggles with figuring out how to pronounce words. Just watch me screw up the word Hottentot in my latest commentary if you want an example of that, even if the word is easy to pronounce.
Also, notice how the only people they're using as the opposing side are white people.
Maybe because white people are the largest racial group in the United States? What other reason do you think there would be, Asian robot?
It's almost as if this was made with a white bad narrative in mind.
Or that we could just go full insane mode.
It's phonetic.
Hold on, you said it was Japanese.
You're not funny.
You going to explain why at all? Because I thought the joke was okay, not great, but not terrible. And at least one comment with over 3,000 likes seems to go even farther. Now, I'm not saying any of those opinions are right, humor is subjective and all that, but I am saying you should be saying more than just, you're not funny.
Don't fetishize Asian women.
Yeah, sorry. You're a bit late for that.
Wow, that punchline was incredibly predictable. Oh, also, notice how I actually explained why I didn't find your joke funny, which is much more than you did less than a minute earlier.
Don't call it yellow fever.
No one calls it that.
Yeah, they do, actually. This literally just took me searching the term in Urban Dictionary. Your points are bad.
Yeah, why does it have to be a disease? There is nothing sexy about diseases.
Alright, who's gonna tell them?
This is one of the issues with commentating on an old video. Even ignoring the fact the joke was mediocre, to say the least, it is based off something that happened 3 years after the video came out. I don't know, robot who is totally not CarmenRider, who is going to go back in time and tell these two people about something that happened years after they finished the video to disprove their point.
Don't pander to us. And don't try to one-up her Asianness.
What does that even mean?
I don't know, Carmen. Maybe this?
Oh, no way.
Yes.
My uncle, he actually...
And I love anime, like, so much. Like, oh my god, like, konnichiwa!
The video involves the two Asian narrators listing a trait before cutting to a skit of people doing exactly that. If you haven't figured that out yet, then you're just simply not paying attention.
The only people who act like stereotypical anime girls are 12-year-olds, and characters that are strawmen of anime fans. Either way, even as a strawman, that was fucking cringe.
You may argue that it was supposed to be cringe, and to that I say, the same rules of annoying characters apply to cringe characters. Cringe characters should only be cringe to the other characters, not the audience.
But the entire point of this video is to show people a trait they might already be engaging in hopes of making them reflect on that with the ultimate goal of getting them to no longer do such a thing. Therefore, if the audience finds watching their own behavior cringy, as Carmen puts it, wouldn't that actually be a positive to the video because it causes them to realize just how cringy their behavior is? To put it another way, the only people who should be offended are the offenders.
Get ready to die! Wonder what this feels like. Ow! That hurts! My God, is that what I've been doing to people? I belong here.
Do know that there are a lot more countries in Asia other than China, Japan, Korea, for example, India.
No shit! Even a third grader could tell you there are more countries than just those 3, which makes me question what kind of person this video is even for.
She didn't literally mean that people think the continent of Asia only contains those handful of countries. She means that when Americans think of Asians, most stereotypes come from those countries, instead of countries like the Philippines, Thailand, Taiwan, or Vietnam. Hell, I highly doubt most people realize that parts of Russia and Egypt are in Asia, as are both Israel and Gaza. This also affects how Americans think of Asian people. If you ask an American to list a famous Asian American, they're going to say someone like Bruce Lee or Jackie Chan. And I know this because there was a segment on the Today Show last year which covered a survey that found that those were the 2 most popular names when Americans were asked to list an Asian American, despite the fact that an Asian American is the sitting vice president of the United States.
42% of people said that they don't know one. The next most popular answers were Jackie Chan, who's from Hong Kong, and Bruce Lee, who died in 1973.
On that note, don't assume that we're all from the same country either.
Not all Asians are the same.
You'd actually probably really like my friend.
Oh?
Yeah, she's Korean. I mean, you might even know her already.
I don't know every Asian person.
That's not even what he was implying. Where did you even get the idea that he thought you knew every Asian person?
What would cause that man to think that one Asian person he knows would know another Asian person he knows?
If you're making a movie about Asian people, don't cast a white person to play an Asian.
And this only really applies to voice acting, unless you're referring to Netflix adaptations to which those are flawed for other reasons that don't involve the race of the cast.
All I'm going to say is laughs in The Last Airbender and Dragon Ball Evolution. You either know what that means or you don't.
Don't assume we're all good at math.
The only time I've seen that applied to anyone is as a joke.
Actually, it comes from the very prestigious and honestly very successful educational systems of, well, take a guess what countries. If you said China, Japan, and South Korea, you are correct. It's almost like this video had a point or something.
Don't assume we all know karate.
That's somehow even less of a thing that happens.
You know, the year before this video came out, there was this Fox News segment where Jesse Waters went to Chinatown in New York and did karate. Which is not from China, by the way, it's from Japan. It had a Daily Show segment and everything.
You know karate? Yeah, I know. Hit my hand.
Karate isn't Chinese, it's Japanese. And you're doing it in a taekwondo studio, which is Korean. You f***ing jack off, jack on, jack off, jack on, jack off.
Again, this is one of the issues with doing an older video, especially one of a topical or political nature. The actual topics the video is based on are likely going to fade from public memory, and therefore you can make claims like, well, that. Anyway, so that's all in the video I wanted to cover. Final thoughts, Carmen, I'm gonna be honest, I don't think you're cut out for political commentary. I'm not saying you have to stop, you can keep going if you truly want to, but I would recommend you at the very least do research into what you're talking about. When covering an older video, keep the context the video was made in mind, and most notably, just stop having a simplistic outlook on things. That's really the best advice I can give you. Anyway, I am Ephraim, and good night, and good luck.